Today we're going to focus on how to sit properly for your meditation practice. We'll start with exploring some different ways to sit more comfortably, and then we will try that out in a short meditation practice. Now, one of the main principles that you want to apply to your meditation practice is finding a place where the body can be relatively still. So the idea is that you want to be somewhere which feels relatively comfortable, that you can sit, maybe you're beginning with 5 or 10 minutes of meditation. Over time, that period might want to start increasing. So it's really essential that we're in a place where our legs aren't falling asleep and that we can kind of sit in stillness, but not be completely focused on, the body feeling discomfort. I'm actually already sitting in a great position to be able to do meditation in. One of the principles of what I'm doing right now when I'm sitting is I have a cushion, and I'm using it so that my hips are higher than my knees. If I was without the cushion, you can see my knees come up a little bit. And what starts to happen is if my knees start to come up, I also start to round in the back. And you can already see this position is a lot less comfortable than if I'm up on the cushion a little. I'm giving my hips a bit more space and allowing also the spine to lengthen. So you could try that for yourself. If you don't have a specific meditation cushion, you can take any other sort of cushion. I've got a few just regular cushions from my sofa. You could also try those and, see how high you need to sit up to be able to create that space in the hips. I will use that meditation cushion since I've got it. And then the other thing you can think about is what position to put the legs in. Now, there's that classic cross-legged position where you've kind of got one foot in front of the others. You can see if I'm taking this position, I've still got space between my knees and the mat. Now, this is relatively fine if I'm sort of sitting for a shorter period. But over time, if there's that space between the knees, that can result again in tightness and kind of rounding through the spine, tightness around my hip flexors, and possibly the fact that my legs might start to sort of fall asleep because there's not so much circulation happening there. So what you could do is if you're wanting to try this particular cross-legged position and you're in a similar sort of situation as me where your knees are up, is you can just take a couple of extra cushions. Blankets also work well here. And you can just lift your knees a little up and then place the cushions under the knees. This feels great. My hips are still a little bit above my knees, but my knees are also supportive here and can relax. A couple of other positions you can try. I'd like to show a variety. And you can, maybe play a little while with one and then try another one, is having one foot in front of the other. So this is more sort of the classic Sukhasana where you kind of place one foot down, that knee opens. Again, if you needed, you could place some sort of cushion under that knee. And then you're placing the other knee. And again, if you needed, cushion could be under the knee. Try coming a little forward here. And the nice thing here, because the legs aren't crossed, there might be a little bit more possibility for circulation to run in the legs. But for some people, this can feel a little less comfortable in the hips than this position. So you can try and experiment with both of those. Another position that you could try, which can feel quite nice, is having the knees forward, having some sort of cushion under the hips. So I'll just come to the side. And then you're bringing your feet around the cushion and you're sitting down. Now, again, the height here, depending on how it feels in the knees, could be raised. You could make, real piles of cushions here to sit comfortably. And the nice thing with this position, particularly for meditation, is that it's very hard here to round your spine. The spine is naturally upright because the pelvis is a tiny bit tilted forward. And that can be super nice if you're sitting for longer periods of time and sometimes suffer from a little bit of lower back pain. So you could try this. If the knees are uncomfortable or your mat is thin, you could also place some sort of blanket under the knees. And that can also be nice, by the way, for the cross-legged position if you're finding around the outside of the ankles is getting sore, or particularly if you've got a hard floor and a thin yoga mat. So something else to experiment with. And I do want to also mention, sitting in a chair is also a great position for meditation. So if for whatever reason the hips are feeling tight and sitting on a cushion on the floor or on a yoga mat just isn't appropriate, or maybe you're in a situation where, a chair is the only option, that's also a really great place to be. And something else, if you've got a wall behind you and if, the back feels a little sore here, you could also just sit right up against the wall. And this can also feel quite nice to be a little bit more supported by the wall. If you're someone that has a little bit of a hard time of maintaining a good posture, sitting against the wall can give you really good feedback. The only disadvantage is if you're leaning a little into the wall, there's less kind of work happening in the back. So it can feel more supportive, but if you're away from the wall, it could feel then that actually you're working the muscles in your back, as long as you're in that correct position, to be able to also strengthen your back a little. So you might want to alternate, but if you're tired or you've already got some sort of, back pain or backache, sitting against a wall can be great. Right. So inviting you to maybe take a slightly different position to what you might normally do. So I'm going to take the cross-leg position with the cushions here. Might sort of stack those cushions up to really give myself nice and space. And then you can, once you're sitting in your position, just start to rest the hands on the thighs and close your eyes. Now we've covered kind of the basic position, and the position of your legs might be slightly different to mine. But whichever position you've chosen, you're really allowing the weight of the hips to drop down, allowing your legs to be heavy, and then seeing if you can really grow tall through the spine and upper body. Now there's this feeling of the shoulders stacking above the hips. So noticing if there's a tendency to lean a little forward and arch the spine, or maybe that opposite tendency of kind of rounding and dropping back, and seeing if you can find that kind of neutral position where spine is long and there's not too far sort of forward or backward lean. You can be relaxing through your shoulders, seeing if you can soften around your belly, relaxing around the eyes and around the mouth. See if you can soften through your jaw. And then just tuning a little bit into the body as a whole. So our focus for this meditation is going to be on sensations in the body. So quite an appropriate one, I think, if we're really focused all about our posture for today, that you can then just sort of tune in to those more subtle elements of the posture in your meditation practice. So you might start by noticing how the legs are feeling, how the hips are feeling. There's maybe sensations of tingling in your feet. Notice the temperature of the body. Maybe how that sort of compares to the temperature of your surroundings. Noticing with your torso how open the torso feels, if there's any tightness anywhere, how your lower back is feeling, middle, upper back. You might also notice at the front of the body, maybe feeling movement of your breath around the belly or around the chest. And then you can notice maybe shoulders, observing your arms, maybe feeling hands resting on your thighs. And also noticing kind of the upper part of the face, back of the head, neck. And we'll sort of alternate a little bit from observing the body as one whole area, and then kind of comparing that to zooming in to a specific area. So typically our awareness often only really comes to one particular area. When that area is kind of painful or calling our attention, maybe a change in temperature. So this can be a pretty interesting exercise to just kind of explore the body, kind of referencing it as a whole, and then comparing that with certain areas of your body. Now we're going to continue just for another minute, sitting in stillness and having the sensations in your body being your focal point. So what I mean by that is, as thoughts start to arise and you start to notice you're getting a little distracted, see if you can keep bringing the awareness back to feeling your body as a whole and feeling sensations in your body. So again, if your mind has wandered away from your body, you can just be gently bringing your focus back in again. Feeling the body once more as a whole area. And then slowly from here preparing to finish your practice. So once you're ready, you can just start to bring awareness to your surroundings again, and softly start to open your eyes. So I hope it was interesting also to try out one of these positions of how to sit in meditation. I want to stress that the right position can be different for different individuals. And also the position for yourself might change over time, as maybe one day you feel quite comfortable, the next day maybe a little back pain or tightness around the hips. So yeah, feel free to experiment. Don't shy away from using lots of cushions and blankets. And if it's really not working for you sitting on the floor, again, sitting in a chair comfortably to meditate will sort of support your meditation practice much more than sitting in a position that feels like you're doing it like the yoga way, but that actually doesn't feel supportive for your body or for your peace of mind. So if you'd like to develop a little bit more of a home yoga practice, you can check out the free resource I've got of a guide to help you set up yoga at home, completely free. Find the link for it in the comments. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.